I read this book called Run with the Lions, Sales Safari. It's a 60-page book that they keep at my job in the safe. And it's basically something that you can just look through if you'd like to improve your sales performance. So I figured, what the fuck, it wouldn't take me so long to read it. So what this book basically does is they break down people into 4 different selling styles. The first one is the retriever, as in, the golden retriever. So the retriever is a sort of salesperson who likes to engage with the customer. They care about the relationship between them and the customer. They like having conversations that don't necessarily relate to the actual products that they're selling. But what the retriever fails to do is they fail to be aggressive because they don't want to come across as pushy. The next person is the shark. Now, the shark is the absolute opposite. The shark only cares about the sale. They don't care about engaging the customer. They don't care about personal stories. They don't ask a lot of questions. The shark just wants to sell. And in a lot of cases, the shark can boost sales, but they tend to guilt people into buying stuff as opposed to making them feel good about purchasing it. The next person is the hippo. The hippo is terrible on all sides. They shy away from customers when they come into the store. They don't ask any questions. They don't really care about sales. The hippo is the person who will end up getting fired eventually. And the fourth salesperson is the lion. As I said, the name of the book is Run with the Lion. So you are supposed to sell like a lion. Who is the lion? The lion is a person who's basically the medium between the retriever and the shark. They care about the sale and they care about the customer. They are aggressive, but not overly aggressive. You understand what I'm telling you? So this book is encouraging you to sell like a lion. And it's a very interesting read because the book basically sells the idea of selling like a lion to the reader. And there's this chapter in the book that talks about how to deal with the customers who tell you, no, thank you, just looking. Now, the book points out that there was research done that about 80% of people who come into stores say that they're just looking. And what they are communicating by saying that they are just looking is that they are afraid of you, the salesperson. They are afraid that if they ask a salesperson for a particular product, the salesperson might actually trick them into buying it. That's actually from the book. You see how weird it is, how that works? One thing that they recommended is that if somebody comes into the store and they say, no, thank you, just looking, you have to retort with something like, great. Have you been to this store before? Or have you shopped with us before? Something like that. And if they say yes, then you give them all the, the sales and the promotions and yada, yada, yada. And I was cool with that. That's fine. And I found myself in some instances actually doing that. Now, the next one was a little cringeworthy. And I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. They suggested that if the person says, no, I haven't shopped with you, you should run them through the history of the company. Like literally, well, we have 2,500 stores and we're in 38 states. Give them a fucking speech, a fucking lecture about the history of the company that they just today took an interest by walking into the store. I'm not going to do that. You see, a lot of times when I have conversations with people at work, you can sort of tell when people's interest tends to trail away. When you give them too many details, their eyes start to wander and they just want to be told if something is good or bad, if it sells a lot, if it doesn't. It's very awkward for me to just run through the whole history of the company and bring up a fucking PowerPoint presentation and, show them the bullet points. And this is why you should get this fat burner. Conversation is an odd thing sometimes, and it can get very awkward very quickly. I'll tell you a story about something that I observed on the train just the other day. I love train stories. I mean, I think it's interesting to observe how human beings sort of interact when they're forced to stack on top of each other like sardines in a fucking can. And sometimes you see situations that you watch it play out, but you could sort of tell how it's going to play out because you can feel these things. You know what I'm saying? We're vibrational creatures, and you can feel the vibes when something is going down, and you know how it's going to end. So I get on the train with this white dude who seemed to be, around my age or maybe a little younger, late 20s, early 30s. He gets on, and the train is it's about half full, half empty, depending on how you want to look at it. So there's a lot of seating available for everybody. So he sits sort of, across from me, away on the left side of the train. I don't know if that was kind of weird for me to describe. I don't even think that made any sense. But he sits away from me, and all of a sudden he gets the attention of these three women who are sitting maybe to his right on the other set of seats. And apparently they were trying to take a selfie, and he put it upon himself to suggest to them, hey, I'll take a picture of you guys. So I thought, man, that's a pretty confident guy. That guy's just fucking going right up to a set of women, and he's just being a very confident, very outgoing person by saying, I'll take a picture of you. Halfway through the whole experience of him taking the picture of these women, I said, man, at what point is this transaction going to end? Because it needs to end quickly, because they didn't ask him, hey, come take a picture of us. He sort of imposed, and they just said, okay. I think they were tourists, which makes it even worse, because of course tourists are going to be very in the moment, and they're going to be very enthusiastic. But maybe there's a language barrier, and I'm not sure if this is why this particular situation concluded the way it's about to conclude. So in the middle of all the pictures, at one point, one of the women said, hey, come over here. And they took a selfie with him. They even went as far as to fucking like cheese or yell. They were like, ah, and they took a picture with this guy. And at this point, I'm just like, oh man, this is really going to end awkwardly. This is terrible. I got my music on, and but I'm totally locked into this whole situation. These people were about, I'd say, 20 feet away from me, okay? 20 yards away from me, not 20 feet. And he sits across from them after the pictures. Now, remember, there are a set of seats, and he can choose to just go right back and say, all right, you guys have a good night. That was good while it lasted. But instead, what he chooses to do is sit right in front of them, across from them, and say, hey, so where you guys going? Where I'll do this like Julio.
So where you guys going? You guys you guys are tourists? What are you here for? You're here in the city just seeing the sights?
They spoke to him, back and forth for maybe like 20 seconds. I looked away. Maybe the train stopped and a couple people walked in, and I was just people watching. And then I looked over to the left side, and I noticed that these three women were talking amongst themselves, and Mr. Photogenic, Mr. Outgoing, was just staring at his phone, just like a defeated man with his tail between his legs. He had nothing else to say. I can only assume that he kept trying to get something out of them. He kept trying to pull something out of them, and they just weren't willing to give any of it up. And I knew it would end that way because he imposed himself onto them. Might have been a bit different had they asked him to take the picture. So that was an awkward occurrence, but one that I knew right from the beginning that it would end that way. So when I read this in the book, and many times that I've explained details and figures to people, and they're just not interested in what I have to say, I just simplify my language, and I just say, all right, it's really good. It's really good, okay? This is the most... Conformity helps a lot with people. When you use conformity to your advantage. Say, for example, somebody wants a pre-workout or something, an amino acid, something that you drink in the middle. I'm sorry if I'm boring you with this supplement talk, but I'm using it as a tool here. So say, for example, somebody wants an amino acid, and that's something that you drink in the middle of a workout. So what I like to do is I like to tell them, this is what you typically see people drinking in the middle of workouts. So then they say, oh, okay, this is what other people drink. I should drink it too. I just use that to sort of just brain fuck them. But that's besides the point. I have this odd thing where, and I think Dom shares it too. I think Dom has it worse than I do, because I've seen Dom in social situations, when we've met a couple of you, and I've seen Dom interact with you guys, and Dom's just fucking weird. I'm not nearly as weird as Dom is, because Dom doesn't fake it at all. Dom is like, okay, we are done with this transaction. I am gone. Of course, he doesn't do it with me. I know him a lot better. So, he doesn't act awkward with me. But I have this odd quirk as well. And I noticed that I still have it. I've shown myself this quality of myself through the years, but I noticed that I still had it about 6 months ago when I was at my job. It was summertime. I went to eat food on the street at the halal stand. For those of you who don't know what halal is, I guess is it Middle Eastern? Look, I'm about to fucking sound like I'm the fucking ambassador of like halal food, like I'm a fucking connoisseur of halal food, and I wasn't even sure where the fuck it comes from. One of those Middle Eastern countries. I'm gonna fucking sound like an ignorant fucking American, but you get the point. We like to call it street meat. Halal, you can get, chicken over rice. You know what I'm saying? You get lamb over rice. You can also get yourself a gyro. It's pretty good food. When you're drunk, normally at 2 a.m. in the morning. So I chose to eat this halal food, and it's about 2 blocks away from my job. And this is the first time I went to the stand, and I'm talking to the halal guy. We're laughing it up. I forgot what me and him were conversing about, and he seems like the greatest guy in the world. And as soon as I took my food and I walked away, I said, shit! I have to walk past this guy every day. I'm not going to eat halal food every fucking day. I got to walk past this guy, and now this interaction that me and him had, now I owe him something. There's something that I have to give him. There's an intangible that I owe him now, or at least that's how I feel. This is an odd quirk. This is irrational, and I don't need you guys in the comment section to try to make sense of it, because it's just the way I'm wired. So I feel like I owe him something now. So I feel this odd pressure whenever I walked by, and a lot of times I was just very thankful that he's a hardworking guy, so he has his back turned, to the streets, and he's on the grill, preparing his bada bing most of the time he was. So I would walk by and I was like, don't fucking look at me, don't fucking look at me, don't fucking look at me. Maybe once or twice I said hi to him or something like that. And he's like, hey, he's very engaging and shit, and I don't fucking like it. I don't fucking like it because I wasn't gonna eat halal every day, and I just felt like our interaction was just because I was the customer, he was the salesperson, and that's it. And I feel like that's as far as it should go. And after a while, I just started walking across the street on the way to work because I just didn't want to fucking say anything to this guy. And then after a while, they just changed the guy at the halal stand. Oh, and I was thankful for that, of course, because I'm weird. Also at the gym, I used to go to a gym right near to where I worked at another store, at another location, and I couldn't stand it because every fucking 5 minutes there was some bozo coming up to me because they recognized me from the store, and they go, hey, bro, I've been taking the protein that you suggested that I take. It's been working out good, man. Thanks. I don't fucking... Get the hell away from me. Like, yeah, come on, guy. Like 30 minutes here, and you're blowing my workout here. You're fucking killing me. Get the hell away from me. It would happen all the time. So so then there were certain guys that they would say hi to me and they would stand around me. And then after a while, I felt like we had to work out together. And what do you want from me? What do you want, sir? What do you want? So I choose not to do that anymore. Wherever I work, I don't like being in the gym around there because I don't want people coming up to me and fucking talking to me. So I say that because conversation is something that is, there's a lot of underlying things that happen during a conversation, and it's a back and forth where frequencies can raise, they can go down, things can get awkward, you can have a certain flow. I guess the most common way that I could relate it to you guys is just imagine running into a person whom you haven't fucking seen since high school. And, assuming you guys are, in your late 20s or whatever the fuck, even if you've been removed from high school for 3 or 4 years, you don't want to run into a person that you sort of knew. Somebody that you knew, obviously you can have a good conversation with them, but somebody who you sort of knew, and you see him maybe at the mall, you see him in the train, you see him in some public situation, and the conversation normally goes like this. Oh, yeah. Hey, you still talk to Timmy? No, man. I mean, I haven't seen that guy in years. Hey, if you notice, yeah, Susie, yeah, she's getting married, man. She's got like 3 kids. Yeah, we're growing up fast, man. Yeah, man. But how are you? You good, man? Yeah. And you get overtly positive about everything. Like if you ask a person, so what have you been up to recently? They'll tell you like, well, man, I've been unemployed. And your response can only be like, oh, that's good. That's good, man. Just keep going. Just keep going. And they're like, yeah. Then you fucking throw bumper sticker fucking comments at each other. And all of a sudden you're throwing Instagram affirmations at each other. You don't have to love to live, but it makes life worth living, bro. Yeah. Okay. That's the only way I could relate it to you guys, because I think that's a universal awkward interaction that happens between all people. But that's how those little moments feel like to me. But how does it feel to you? I mean, do you guys have awkward conversations with people? I am, of course, more used to this because I sell to people on a daily basis. So speaking to strangers is really something that's natural for me. But always feeling like I'm pushing too much. It feels overbearing. It feels taxing. So if somebody comes into the fucking store and says, no, thank you, just looking, I am not going to run them by the history of the company Run with the Lion Sales Safari. You hear that? I threw the book. What the fuck am I talking about anyway? I'll see you guys next time.